not opposing another group. We are supporting our children, and in supporting our children, we are here to provide voter information and education. The main purpose of our forum is to foster civil discourse. When I say civil discourse, I mean that in two senses. Civil, in its terms of being about government and how our society is run, and civil in terms of its tone, that big one of respect. We know that in our current political climate, anytime somebody stands for office, they are opening themselves to the online abuse of the polls. I have seen numerous posts and comments on social media in the past few weeks regarding the candidates here in front of me. None of those posts or comments were necessary. To the individuals who made those comments and who made those posts, I ask you, are you furthering the cause of education for our children, or are you simply seeking attention from behind your keyboard? Your keyboard. Step up to the table, to the podium, wherever it needs to be, and make your communications, make your voices heard in a manner that will foster discussion, that will move our children's education forward. We are not here to validate attention seekers. We are not here to make people feel better about themselves when they are old enough to know better. We are here to help our children in our district achieve their highest potential. We can disagree on the pathways we take. We can disagree on the methods we use to get there. But in the end, we are adults, and we need to show our children that even if we disagree, we can compromise to make the best pathway forward for them. Our student board member from San Juan Valley Unified School District, Anya Ayapan, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Anya. With that, I'd like to welcome who's a senior at Monte Vista High School and student board member on the California Board of PTAs. Arnold to say a few words on the importance of this election from the student perspective. Arnold?
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Vicky. For those words. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arnaud Verma, and I'm a senior at Monte Vista High School. I serve on the Monte Vista, California, and California State PTA as a board member, and the Contra Costa PTA as a secretary. And on behalf of students and stakeholders in the San Juan Valley Unified School District, I'm honored to speak to you about the importance of participating in our upcoming school board election. Let's be honest, for the majority of parents, school boards have historically been something of a travesty affair, unless you're like me and poring over budget requests as how you get your kids. That all changed as we exited the pandemic, however, where school board meetings have been anything but sweet. As schools reopen and navigating the choppy seas of revitalizing our students' education, you may have noticed that protests are taking over school board nationwide by storm. These protests stem from controversial debates centered on education, many of which affect these decisions made by school boards. Too often, however, these decisions serve personal and political agendas without the intervention of key stakeholders like me and you. The thing is, running a school board is hard. Boards must answer sensitive and complex questions while considering their students first and foremost. Questions of public health, where to allocate their budget, and how to maximize educational efficiency, all miss a turbulent time in our nation. That's why I have such immense respect for our current board members who have worked so hard to encourage and ensure our students' welfare. As we turn to our own election now, we see the impact of the political turbulence in schools across the nation is great. Candidates the economic benefits often overlook the needs of students themselves. That's why this election is imperative that we make students the cornerstone of our ballot. The reason for this election show is simple. School board elections are simply different than other elections. Nationwide, voters lean on candidates and their own political affiliations to help make their decisions. Familiarity and turnout margins create expected and accepted outcomes. School board elections are fundamentally different. Contra Costa turnout for gubernatorial elections is upwards of 30%. The national average for a school board election is 5 to 10. That's really scary. We cannot allow the needs of our students to be put in the hands of an official who only represents a fraction of the population. That's why this election season, I implore each and every one of you. School boards are the bridge between our communities and our schools. They're our voices. And though we don't see them every day like we do our teachers, voices affect every facet of our educational experience. All the way from the technology and the courses we're offered to the very human rights ensured to our students. School boards can no longer be the invisible hand approving decisions unbeknownst to stakeholders. They have to be actively engaged and communicating about the values and the needs of the families they represent and serve. And a big part of that now lies in us, the students and the parents. Now, by the nature of being a puny 16-year-old high schooler, I unfortunately cannot cast my ballot. But I need those of you who can to vote for a candidate on behalf of students like myself and your children. School board members draw a map with the direction of the school district. So please, vote for a candidate who is a picture that you want to see in the education system. Thank you.
I'm going to introduce our moderator now. She's an amazing woman. I'm so excited to have her. Her name is Anne Flynn. She is a past president of the League of Women Voters. She served on the Walnut Creek School District Board of Governors for 2 terms, and she retired from the U.S. State Department as a Foreign Service Officer, possibly my dream job. Anne has been a moderator for many election cycles in the Contra Costa area, and she considers school board races to be the most important races in our area because of the impact they have on our children and on our future. With that, Anne.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Good evening and welcome to today's event. As Ravneet said, I am Anne Flynn and the League of Women Voters of Diablo Valley. We have some brochures out in the lobby if you want to find out more about the league. And thank you for joining us this evening. This forum is sponsored by the San Ramon Valley Council of PTAs to present candidates running for the San Ramon Valley Unified School District's Area 1. There is 1 open seat and 3 candidates. So the candidates participating tonight are for the audience here in the theater, starting here to my left is Jerome Pendel, then Michelle Peterson, and Jesse Van Zee. The League is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any candidate. We are here tonight as part of our key mission to educate and inform voters. As your moderator, I neither live nor vote in this district. The forum is being recorded. We ask that audience members not record audio or video so as not to have a misleading partial segment of our program. So at this moment, please silence your cell phones. I want to ask you in advance not to cheer or applaud any statement, because if one person starts it, then somebody else feels like they have to do it. It makes my job difficult and takes time away from the candidates. So please, no audience participation. Before the program began, the name of each candidate was selected at random to determine opening speaking order. Closing statements will be in the reverse order. Each candidate will give 2-minute opening remarks, and then a 3-minute closing statement at the end. During the question and answer portion, I will alternate whom I call upon first to avoid giving any candidate an advantage or disadvantage. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer the question. If they wish, each candidate will have the opportunity for 2 rebuttals of 1 minute each upon their request. We have a timer visible to the participants in the front row down here. Speakers can see a green card when it's their allotted time. If you would show the green, please, so that they can see when you're talking, you'll see green. They'll see a yellow card when you have 15 seconds remaining in your time, and then when your time is up, you'll see a red card. Thank you. Now we'll proceed with 2-minute opening statements, beginning with Jerome Pendel.
Thank you.
We do have an echo with the mic, so just not too close after that.
Testing. All right, we'll try that now. Thank you very much, Anne, and good evening, everyone. First, thank you to the San Juan Valley Council PTA, to the League of Women Voters, and everyone else who helped make this candidate forum possible tonight. I'm Jerome Pendel, and I am proud to stand before you as a candidate for Trustee Area 1, as someone who's from our community, as a proud graduate, just like my wife, of elementary, middle, and high school in Trustee Area 1 in our district, and also someone who now lives here and is the parent of a future student. I also have a family member who's a kindergartner in Area 1 elementary school. I know these past few years have been very hard on our students, but what I know our district is capable of, because of its traditions of excellence, is moving forward and making sure we meet every student exactly where they are. For the past 6 years, from 2015 through 2021, I served on the San Juan Valley Unified School District Facilities Oversight and Advisory Committee. Now, that is a mouthful of words, but what that basically did was help ensure that the school bond that voters generously enacted to help build buildings like the one we're now in, the dirt parking lot when I was a student, can do and expand educational opportunities for our students and create safe, supportive learning environments at every campus. Additionally, I was proud to serve as a fundraising co-chair for the Citizens for Quality Schools Parcel Tax Renewal campaign in 2015. And I'm currently serving on the Access to Excellence Committee, which is designed to build stronger partnerships with our community-based organizations and businesses to help improve educational opportunities for our students. When I say I want to meet every student where they are, I truly mean it. And one of the things we have to do is retain and recruit the best teachers, ensure our students feel mentally and healthily supported in each classroom, and also expand educational opportunities for every child in our district. I hope to talk more about my ideas and my vision with you tonight, and thank you all for being active, engaged voters and citizens. With that, thank you very much.
Now, Michelle Peterson.
Thank you so much, Arnav, the San Juan Valley Council of PTAs, and the League of Women Voters, and all watching tonight. My name is Michelle Peterson. My husband and I have lived in this community for 16 years. We are both products of public education and value its place in our society. I am a former firefighter, and like many here tonight, had to make a difficult decision to quit my career as it was in the best interest of my family. I know how fortunate I am to have been able to make this choice. As a mother of an elementary school student whose son was diagnosed with a learning disability earlier this year, I offer a special lens through which to navigate our children's educational journey. I have volunteered at my son's school for the last 6 years, served as PTA president there for the last 3, navigating a new principal, COVID, and the transition back to in-person learning. During this time, I always made my decisions with the best interests of the parents, teachers, and the school community in mind. For the past 5 years, I have served this community in another role as a leader of Moms Demand Action, the nationwide nonprofit group dedicated to ending gun violence in schools. Education affects all of us, and as a parent leader who has demonstrated the ability to work with other parents and staff, I will be the voice that will listen through the distractions and respond with reason and civility. As a parent leader, I have seen firsthand the effects of COVID, not just on our students, but on our educators. Our nation is facing a hiring crisis and retaining teachers. And as trustee, I will look to ways to continue to attract the best educators while working to retain the quality staff we have. I am here as a candidate because I believe that every child deserves a sense of safety and belonging to reach their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Jesse Van Zee.
Good evening. My name's Jesse Van Zee. That's a little.
The audience might want the mic.
Even with the echo. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
I'm wondering if we just project. Audience, can I see hands? Are you able to hear me? No? Okay, that was an idea. Okay, we'll get rid of the feedback and then I'll read the question again. This will get smoother, don't worry.
The request has been made that the other two candidates redo their opening statement because they could not be heard.
So we want to start again.
Ravneet, you're in charge. I'm just.
So was that the audience didn't hear it or the Zoom audience? Okay. The Zoom audience able to hear the opening statement, so we're going to record those later in the program so that the theater audience is critically and their presence. So we'll continue with the live program. And we'll re-record the opening statements at the end. Okay, so now we have question number one. The first one to answer will be Michelle Peterson, and the question is, what if one of the current school board does well, and how would you contribute to that work to make it better?
So one of the things that I think that the school board does really well is it helps to set district vision and goals. And I really concur, like the direction that our school is going and our district is going in the Access to Excellence program that has been rolled out this past year. I think that they do a really good job with that. So that's where I would stay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We can't hear.
We can't hear.
All right, I'll try that again. Is that better? I'm so sorry. We'll work through this by the time we're done. I was saying that I believe that the school board works really well with the district in setting vision and goals. And I'm really proud of the path to academic excellence and the strategic initiatives that have been put forth by our district and led by our superintendent, Dr. Malloy.
Thank you very much. Mr. Van Zee.
All right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you did get 50 chance to get it right. I think running a school board has to be incredibly hard. You're trying to hear all the voices, you're trying to understand what people are doing, and then you have to make a decision at the end of the day. We had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Malloy and the rest of the district office and understand a little bit more about what our roles and responsibilities would be as a board member. My responsibility as a board member is to hear each voice in the community and make sure that I'm taking your voice and informing the district and informing the board and working with fellow board members to make sure that we're understanding everything that the district needs. Even though I'm running for Area 1, I'm running for this entire district. I'm running for a voice for parents to be back on the Board of Education. I'm running for students, and I'm running for a voice in our community. And I appreciate everything that the board has done. I think it's an incredibly difficult job to hear all those voices and then try to chart a path forward. And if I'm elected on the board, I look forward to working with each and every one of you. And I see some of you here. Thank you for coming to make sure that we have the best schools as we possibly can for our kids.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Pandel.
Should I do the unmute, Heidi?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Michelle and Wendy.
All right. So one of the things that was really rewarding for me serving on the facilities committee was I got to ultimately work with three board members, Ken Mintz, Susanna Orley, and Ms. Jennison. And one of the things I really appreciated was how they instilled in this committee, where they are ex officio members, the need to talk through issues. One of the people I worked with very closely on that committee was Shelley Clark, another current trustee, and she was my vice chair for 2 of the years. I was chair of the Facilities Oversight Committee, and talking through tough issues, like, for example, how the design can fit into the cost constraints we have in a school bond, is something that I know carries over into the board, and we see it every day, no matter what happens in terms of raucous interruptions or anything like that. A lot of people think when you're an attorney, like I am, that you just like to argue all the time. And there's plenty of room for that in a courtroom or somewhere else. But the reality is what we always try to do, at least in my cases and in my practice, is we try to mediate solutions. I think that is something you get by talking through issues and problems with each other in an open board meeting, as you're required to do under the Brown Act, but also in your various subcommittee roles that you take on as a board member. And I feel really prepared to do that based on my volunteer experience in this district.
Thank you very much. Now, our next question, we're going to start with Mr. Van Zee. We'll answer it first. Student mental health and well-being is on everyone's mind. What sources of information would you rely on to make decisions for improvements in this area? And what improvements would you make?
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing that's become increasingly clear over the past 2 years is that our students benefit when schools are open and when kids are in school and when they're learning with their peers. That's one thing that we saw a huge hit on mental health for kids when they were not able to be in-person learning. And I know that that was a hard thing to balance between the fear and some of the data coming out, between county health officials and between parents. I would go directly to the source. I'd talk to the school counselors. I would ask them what they're seeing. I have many friends that are school counselors in the district, and they've told me firsthand experiences of how horrible some of the increase in depression has really happened in students. We need to serve these students. We need to make sure that they have the resources needed for that care. And we also need to make sure that we keep them in schools and in class where they belong and where they can thrive. And that's important for their social and emotional well-being.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pendel?
Mute.
All right. Student mental and emotional health is something that has to be a core part of every child's learning experience, from when they first enter our campuses, which pretty soon is at the pre-K level, and that program statewide is implemented here, all the way through the 12th grade experience. And one of the things I really value, in addition to the expansion of counselors at elementary school campuses that this district has undertaken, is an effort to meet students where they are. And what that really means is helping our teachers develop the skills, even though they are not counselors in and of themselves by training, to identify the needs of students that they see through their learning experience. That is something that we can do as a district, and I know our teachers want to work collaboratively with our district to accomplish that. And I think it's something that at the board level, that is a policy we want to be able to set. A lot of people conceive of the board as, there to only solve necessarily the district's problems. What the board also does is, one, hire the superintendent, and also ensures that the superintendent has the tools they need administratively to implement and serve each campus of the district. And I think that is the type of tools for mental and emotional support we need. We also should do more interactions with students as board members. I see that happen with current board members on campus every day, and we should do more of it, like we heard from tonight with our student board representatives. But going to campus is really helpful. I'm excited for a Monte Vista site visit coming up in a couple of weeks, where there will be a student town hall.
Thank you. And Ms. Peterson?
So first of all, suicide is the second leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds. And suicide rates for 10 to 12-year-olds have quadrupled in the last 20 years.
This is
not a COVID problem. This is declared mental health crisis prior to the pandemic. Yes, the pandemic definitely exacerbated this issue. This has been happening.
We're in
a crisis.
Children are
hitting puberty on an average of 12, age 12 compared to age 14. This is coupled with the prevalence of social media that their brains just cannot handle everything they're getting at. Early intervention is key. We need to guarantee funding for elementary school counselors. Currently, there are 11 full-time employee positions at this level, and I will work as a board trustee to make sure that we guarantee funding for this position. Guaranteed accessibility to resources is another very important thing. It is difficult to hire counselors and social workers. The partnership that we have with the Discovery Counseling Center is so important because they provide training facilitation to our therapists and counselors, who then go out and work in our schools as skip counselors at a very low cost to no cost initiative for our schools. We really need to reduce the stigmatization of mental health by promoting awareness to the parents and students and removing barriers to access. We need to make more resources more approachable, and we need to reduce our student council ratios. Counselors at our school.
Thank you. You can add to another question later. Okay, our next question will be answered by Mr. Mandel first, so that's good. We have many questions regarding the teaching of critical race theory and the potential banning of books in our schools. Do you agree with the curriculum for our language arts and social studies programs as they are taught in our district? What changes would you make and why?
So one of the things, just very quickly, critical race theory is a very, very difficult law school class that I had no desire to take, not because of its content, but because it was one of the most difficult professors in my law school who taught it. And he was a great professor, but I think the value here we have to understand is that's a law school high level theory taught among many, many other theories. That has nothing that we see in our high school, elementary, and middle schools. I do think the content of our language arts and social studies curriculum is great. One of the reasons why it's great in our district is because we already have parent and community input in the selection process for course materials. When there's new course materials that are selected by our teaching professionals, they're vetted thoroughly, they're tested with classes, and then they go through that approval process. I don't think someone at the board level should be in a position of picking and choosing content-based restrictions for what our students teach or learn. We should trust the teaching professionals we hire at both the administrative level and at the classroom level to make those decisions, because they are trusted professionals and they know the content and know what is needed to meet our state standards.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Peterson?
Mrs. Peterson, can you please unmute?
And I shouldn't be, right?
Okay, I 100% agree with Mr. Pandel that critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 schools. It is a college and above graduate level course. So thank you for clarifying that. I recognize there should be balance, but we need to provide our children with a wide range of perspectives to better empower them to be critical thinkers and make decisions on their own, as they will be working with a wide range of ethnic backgrounds as they enter the real world. There's a process for books to be vetted by our district, as Mr. Pandel alluded to. We need to follow state law and not go against anything that could expose our district to frivolous lawsuits. These books are then, the national trend to ban books through schools and libraries primarily affects students in our marginalized communities and denies them the opportunity to read books by authors who think like them, look like them, and they can be a lifeline for these students. If a parent objects to a book, is it right that one parent should speak for the 26 to 30 kids in our schools? Parents do have an opportunity to opt out if they do not agree with a certain book being discussed in a classroom. Lastly, I wanted to say that within my own personal library, I did a quick search. I found the following books to be banned: George Orwell, 1984, The Handmaid's Tale, The God of Small Things, To Kill a Mockingbird, The Hate You Give, Beloved, and I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. I challenge all of you to go to your own libraries and look and see what is in your personal reading material that you can no longer access in other states.
Thank you very much. Mr. Benzie?
That's excellent. Yes. You want me to unmute? Okay.
Critical race theory is a subject that is taught in law schools. However, on a broader scale, I would oppose any sort of teaching that teaches children that they are oppressed or that they're oppressors based on things that they can't control, like the color of their skin, their gender, their sexual identity. To teach kids that they're in a permanent prison is simply not kind, and I wouldn't be standing for any of that. So while we might not be teaching critical race theory, we need to make sure that we're never teaching any sort of ideology that would teach these young, innocent children that they're oppressed or that they are oppressors. We've seen this come into school districts nationally, and I, as a parent of 5 children, want to make sure that this is not something that is taught to my children. And I think parental involvement and transparency is something I stand very solidly for. The more transparent we are with our curriculum, the more parental involvement that we have in as teachers are selecting books and curriculum, the better. And the more inclusive we are of parents and teachers together, we're going to have a more unified school. And that's what we're shooting for. And that's what I'm going to lead for on the board.
Thank you very much. The next question, Mrs. Peterson will answer first. The population of our district is extremely diverse, racially, socioeconomically, politically, and in terms of sexual orientation or identification. If elected, how will you ensure the different needs of all students are met? Mrs. Peterson?
I just think that it's very important for all of us to recognize that schools should be a safe place, period. No matter the color of your skin, no matter the politics that you adhere to, as my opponent has alluded to or said, politics, our kids aren't Republicans or Democrats, they're kids, they're students. I would just advocate, like I just said in my discussion on books, that we need to make sure that we are a voice for those who don't have a voice. And we need to make sure that everyone feels safe and a sense of belonging in their schools that they go to. And however we can make those provisions at a board level, we should do, so that every child feels a sense of safety and belonging.
Thank you. And Mr. Pendel?
The diversity of our district and our students is a huge strength, just period in the discussion. And the way to do that is to celebrate it. And we celebrate it through all sorts of things that our students do well, but also to protect it and nurture it. One of the things I think about how, I could relate to students who don't necessarily have the same background and experience that I did either growing up or currently, is the fact that one of my first teachers was my Aunt Effie. She was a teacher in San Francisco Public School District for 35 years, and she started the Chinese American Club at George Washington High School. And the reason why students went to her wasn't because, she necessarily was Chinese. They didn't have a Chinese teacher they could go to. The reason they went to her was because she was the child of immigrants, and she spoke about that experience. And that was the same experience that they had. So relating to our students and finding commonalities in their experience and talking to them is the best way to ensure the needs of our population and its diversity is met, and celebrate it. Because that's something we should do every day. And although I agree, no kid is a Democrat or Republican, as a former member of our great speech and debate teams in this district, it's really fun when you learn how to talk and discuss things maturely with people who disagree with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benzie.
Absolutely. In the sequence down here, folks. I'm anti-bullying. There's no place for hate in our schools. Every kid who walks through our doors should be respected and affirmed and acknowledged for who they are. That being said, we also still have to respect parent values and make sure that we're not undermining those in the classroom. And I think that we can do that. I think we can both acknowledge kids and the diversity of their background and accept them and love them and make sure that there's not bullies in schools, and also still respect parents' involvement and their values. And this is the world that we live in, and it's a fine line to go across. But you know what? The reason why I send my 5 kids to school, or actually my 4 kids, soon to be 5 kids, is I'm sending them there so that they can learn to read, write, do math, learn history, learn music, learn the arts. That is why I'm sending my kids to school. I think that what we can unify around in our school district is a focus on academics, a focus on learning knowledge and skills that will be required to live in this competitive world that they're growing up into. I think we can respect all parents if we focus on academic values. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I have a rebuttal, please?
Certainly. 1 minute rebuttal for Mrs. Peterson.
I don't mean this as a rebuttal. I just wanted to, just in terms of academic excellence and getting back to core academics. Yes, we need to absolutely focus on the core academics for our kids to be functional, successful adults, but the lessons that we learn cannot deprive any one gender, ethnicity, racial background from being included in those academics. 2, the fun lessons in elementary school and electives starting in middle school and growing in high school are what really engage students. To allow a space for these kids to have those fun classes like speech and debate, like mock trial, like cooking class. If you focus only on the core academics, you are then making it more difficult for kids to learn and excel in school. So thank you. And I want to also say that I've been now to several of our schools. This high school and Monte Vista High School offers such incredible diverse classes. And I'm so excited for my son to go to that school.
Thank you very much.
I absolutely agree that we have to focus on all the beautiful things that I enjoyed when I was in school, and I enjoy doing choir. I enjoy doing sports. I enjoy doing all of those things. We have a finite amount of time with our kids in school. Over the last 2 years, they have lost so much ground. Nationally, their grade average for where kids are at has been decimated. We found that out earlier this month. In California, they just decided to not release their state standard testing scores for what happened this year until after the election. And I wonder why. It's because it is not doing good. If you only have 6 hours with the kid, and what your job is to do is to teach them these core values so that they can be successful in life, we have to focus on that first. That's not at the exclusion of the other things, but we do have to focus on that first.
Thank you very much. Now keep the microphone. You're going to answer the next question first.
All right.
Let's see if I hear anything from anyone else.
Come on, Trevor.
Lately, communication has been a hot button topic for many parents. What are some things the district gets right on communication, and what can it do to communicate more effectively with the community?
Yeah, this is so hard because you're trying to communicate with everybody and do that perfectly all the time. And at schools, you're being trusted with a parent's most precious resource, which is their kids. And so they do want that communication. They want to see that. I think it's really hard. You get a lot of emails. I do think that there's maybe some way that we can look at how we make the board meetings more accessible. I know for most parents, they want to be involved, but they have no clue what's happening because it's on a Tuesday night from 7 to 9 and there was sports and there was things going and being involved. So maybe a way that we can make those points more digestible and more easily accessible, or providing additional workshops for parents to come discuss those things with the board member might be good. I do think that there's also a few other things. Sometimes we hear about things overnight when they happen. And then there's also been other issues that have come up recently, like the teacher, Nicholas Mosby, who was arrested for molesting young kids. And we need to hear about that from the district and not from Mercury News. And that's something that, as a voice for the folks in the community, that I would want to work with the district to make sure that, hey, I'm hearing this, guys. I'm hearing people saying, why am I not hearing about this? Even if my kid didn't go to that school, I want to hear about that. And I think that's how I can be helpful as well as a board member.
Thank you. Mrs. Peterson?
On you. First of all, I understand that people want their voices heard and did not feel that way through the pandemic. As a Board of Education trustee, and indeed during my candidacy, I am open to other ideas of transparency and the things that we can do to increase this. We need to prioritize outgoing communications. We need to expand and improve incoming communications. Through the evolution of my time as a parent, I have seen an increase in parent and student surveys and in the opportunity to give feedback through outlets like, thank you, Dr. Malloy, the Thought Exchange. Board of Education meetings are now recorded, and I believe that we have a thank you to you for that. And our minutes are publicized in a timely manner. Please, if you have other ideas, let us know, because one of us is going to become the next representative for Area 1. I want to also just address what Mr. Van Zee brought up about the Mosley incident. It is very upsetting. It caused a lot of anger and shock, and there were a lot of emotions. Personnel matters are not legally, we're not allowed as a district to share that. But this incident was actually a police matter that the district became informed of. Communication could have been much better, and I think that's recognized. And in every moving path forward, we will need to look at how we've reacted to things and figure out how we can do better so that our parents feel like they are getting the information that is needed.
Thank you. Mr. Pendel.
Thank you. Yes, 80 years ago, when I ran for school board, I did call for the broadcast at school board meetings, and I'm happy that it happens now. To that end, I would actually take it one step further. One of the things with the pandemic that we learned is that The Brown Act can be modified to allow for remote participation of the public in public meetings. And keep in mind, something one of us would have to convince at least 2 other board members to agree to. But some of our surrounding cities and school districts have continued to allow remote public comment at their board meetings. That is something that we should consider doing, and it's something I'm in favor of, because it does open up the process for people to participate. I think that is one way to improve. The other thing I would like to do, and I would say that this is something that I already see one of our board members doing right now is the monthly hours. You can think of those as just a time for any community member. Keep in mind part of the reason our schools are so great is that the 65% plus of kids in our schools help vote to make them can come talk to you about concerns they have. With regards to the incident, the tragic incident involving the biology teacher, I would say one of the things we should do is increase our partnerships and awareness with our district attorney's office and our law enforcement so that we become better aware of these things. But there are times when, for reasons relating to the investigation, they won't be able to share information with us. But board member, you can, as a public official, increase your partner with those entities at the leadership level.
Thank you. Now keep the microphone and go into the next question first. When you look at the district's strategic directions plan, what is the most compelling part to you? Why? Also, have you participated in the strategic directions planning?
I have not personally participated in the strategic directions planning, although I am part of the Access to Excellence Committee, which touches on the aspects of the strategic directions. That I actually really have enjoyed the most of, and this is something that will relate back to the prior question relating to communication, is the deep learning part of the strategic direction. And one of the things we really constantly through Instagram stories and posts on the various social media platforms that are for schools and for our district are examples of that deep learning going on every day now that kids are back in school. It was also happening before too. I participated in online mock trials and things of that nature that our kids participated in and did exceptionally well at. The deep learning that we're seeing is exactly what our kids need, and that covers some of the social emotional needs they have, but it also allows them to spread their wings and really expand those. So that is something that I think is a very important aspect of the strategic direction.
Thank you. And Mr. Van Zee, please.
Yeah, I like Jerome. I really appreciate the deep learning and innovation. And I think one of the things that I'm hearing feedback though from folks in the community and parents is, what does deep learning mean? And they're asking things, does this mean that this is where we're focusing on academics, or what does this mean? Is this also including social emotional meaning? And it's kind of all the above. One of the things that I think it's critical to do is to set vision as a board and to do these things. I believe that we really need to encourage parents to see all the ways that they're focusing on bolstering their children's academics in math, science, reading, and writing, and how that's working, and how we can do that at the same time while elevating the student, while encouraging them, while providing inclusivity for them as well. And I think that that's definitely hands down one of my favorite parts of the overall initiatives.
Thank you. Mrs. Peterson.
What both of these gentlemen said, but I would like to focus on the social and emotional learning aspect. The CDC defines mental health as including our emotional, social, and psychological well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and it determines how we handle, relate to others, and make healthy choices. This is essential to a healthy school community and a more positive community as a whole. We cannot separate out from academics the effects of social and emotional learning. It is an important and integral part of our strategic directions and our strategic initiatives, and I'm very thankful for the leadership of the board and the district that they are including this important initiative.
Thank you very much. Now, our next question is Mrs. Peterson again, so don't take away the microphone. And this will be our final question. I'm very sorry that the time has sped by so quickly, but we only have time for one more question. So Mrs. Peterson, we all know budgets are tight. Where would you allocate funds differently for better student outcomes?
Well, we have a lot of wants. We want elementary school assistant principals, elementary school counselors, elementary school library staff, career tech ed coordinators, intervention support for both certified and classified employees, elementary art and music, one-to-one technology, curriculum refresh, diverse innovative courses, future salaries, employees and benefits retention, lower class sizes and counselor ratios. All of these things are wants that are being provided, some of them through one-time COVID funding. If we advocate to increase the base grant funding from an average daily allowance, or sorry, average daily attendance to our enrollment numbers, that will give us an extra 25 million dollars to our budget. That can then help fund these things that we want. Overall, the state of California spends 40 to 50% of our state budget on education, but gives less to schools per pupil than other states. The San Ramon Valley Unified School District does not get much money from the state formula as other surrounding districts per pupil. We spend $8,862, Dublin $212, and Mount Diablo $9,507. Roughly 80% of the district's money goes towards people costs. Our people and our teachers and our educators are incredibly important, and we have to do everything that we can with our budget allowance to be able to recruit and retain the incredible educators that our district deserves.
Thank you, Mr. Benzie.
So the district has a budget over $400 million. That was actually a shock to me when I first came in here. There's some issues that are coming up here in the very near future. Potential bond measures, Serbia negotiations, recession problems, which has proven difficulty for the district in the past. We also have an issue with declining enrollment. In 2018, we had 32,000 kids enrolled in our school. In 2022, we have 29,000 kids enrolled in our school with a projected 2% decline for the foreseeable future. What this represents is tens of millions of dollars less in funding than we currently have. So one of these issues becomes, with finite resources, where do you direct them? I would be an advocate for directing these directly into the classrooms, directly into teachers who are teaching our children, who are the boots on the ground for education, directly into programs that are helping bolster our kids in these core academic areas, so that they can live successful lives and that we can get through this. But we do have hard times coming up. You're going to need somebody who has great business acumen that can look at budgets and help work with boards that has that background. I have that background. I look at multi-million-dollar budgets every day. I feel very confident doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, and Mr. Pendel.
So one of the things that you really have to do, and this is something that I've learned from being involved in both this district from when I was a student until now in my role as a volunteer, is your budget has to reflect your values. And that means that you should put money in the classroom, but that means also ensuring that you retain and recruit the best teachers. And that, to the points that fellow candidates have made, I think that really starts with ensuring that every classroom has a teacher. So we have to make our district, it's often called a destination district for parents and families, and that's 100% true. And one of the responsibilities of the board is to govern in a way that keeps it that way. But we also have to make it a destination district for teachers who want to come and be in our classrooms and can afford to live in our communities. And I think that is really where you have to focus the budget. That being said, when you have to make the tough choices, you also have to be creative. And that's one of the things you learn about when you serve on the bond and look at the long, complicated formulas of projected costs of construction versus actual costs, unencumbered expenses, and things of that nature. You have to look for ways to creatively expand your budget and do things more creatively and expansively. So one of the things I think about, we all dislike Zoom school, understood, but there are opportunities created through distance learning, as we've learned at the higher education levels, where we could possibly, instead of having a teacher no longer teach a class at one high school, allow that teacher to teach class at multiple high schools in accordance with the contract. So I really think So we can be creative.
Thank you. Now, thank you, audience, very much for your attention and cooperation this evening. Now, each candidate will have 3 minutes for a closing statement, and we'll begin in reverse order from opening statements with Jesse Van Zee.
All right. Thank you guys again for coming tonight, and thank you those who are watching remotely. And I think school boards can have a bigger impact on your day-to-day life than a lot of other elections. And so I do appreciate that you're taking the time to learn about those. There's a few other things that I wanted to talk about in this debate that I'm going to take a few minutes to just share about with you as I wrap up. For me, another important thing is that we have safe schools. It's something that I need as a father. It's something that is very important to me. It's not just a talking point on my platform, but something that I need. Some of the things that I'd like to make sure that we have is our school resource officers. I want to make sure that we keep funding those programs at our school. I've never been in the defund camp. I never will be. I remember as a high school student having this school resource officer as part of our campus. They were a part of our healthy